Dunn on 6 cards. He's happy. We're underway here in round number 5. Dunn with a mountain, Merriam with a forest. So Ryan's follow will be it. It will be a flooded strand. So plains or island coming, and it will be a plains. See what kind of 2-drop he has. It'll be a Soulfire Grandmaster. Merriam will take a draw. Yavimaya Coast into a Satyr Wayfinder. We're going to turn over a couple of cards. A Forest is 1, Tassiger is 2. Caryatid is 3, Murder's Cut is 4. So Forest will go to the grip, and we will head back Ryan Dunn's way, who will untap those 2 lands. Soulfire Grandmaster at the ready. There's a mountain. This is a Rabblemaster. And it looks to be a pretty good mulligan here for Ryan.
Very solid. And Ross, you saw with Thoughtseize in his hand here and has not cast it yet, implying here no black mana in his hand right now, which is big time trouble because if he can't get this Rabblemaster off the table, we know what happens. This runs away with games uncontested. It is rarely uncontested, but when it does happen, that's just it.
Looks like Hero's Downfall in Merriam's hand. Somebody needs an Urboard. This will be a Satyr Wayfinder. Those are not lands, so 2 Coursers, a Caryatid, and a Whip of Erebos are going to go to the graveyard. And black mana looks to be the issue here for Merriam. It's a forest and a passing of the turn. We head back Dunn's way. Dunn looking to close this game out real quick. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe something like a Wild Slash on this Wayfinder.
I don't mind it. It looks like Treasure Cruise in hand too, so just end this game before it gets started here. The Sultai Reanimator deck is capable of catching up very fast.
Yeah. A lot of damage going to come across here between the Rabblemaster, the Soulfire Grandmaster, and the token. Head back Merriam's way.
If Ross draws his Urborg even, you know, he could do something like play Tassiger and Murder's Cut in the same turn.
Doesn't take much.
No.
There's a Reclamation Stage. Nothing for it to blow up. Just there to try to block the Rabblemaster. Raise the Alarm, Treasure Cruise, and a land in hand for Dunn. Dunn going to sacrifice the Flooded Strand. Islander Plains coming. It'll be an island. 5 lands plus 3 cards in the graveyard does mean Treasure Cruise is online.
And that might be the turn here from Ryan.
Yep.
If that's the case, I think that he's likely to only attack with the Goblin tokens.
Yeah, I could see that. It is time to cruise. 3 cards coming. Another cruise, looks like a Raise the Alarm 2. But Dunn does not want to give Merriam the opportunity to stabilize here. He wants to keep pushing.
It does not take much, particularly if Ross draws the Urborg, and then he can unleash a really big follow-up here. Even another untapped black mana next turn might give Ross a turn good enough to catch back up in this game, even given how poorly things have gone for him thus far.
Goblin token incoming. And Soulfire Grandmaster will get in there as well. See how Merriam does elect to block. We'll trade with the Grandmaster. 2 damage will come across. Merriam will go down to 10. See if he can find some way to stabilize here. Take a draw step. Looks like a Temple of Malady is what Ross picked up.
I'm not sure how I feel about that Soulfire Grandmaster attack last turn. It kind of depends on what Ryan picked up there. But that's a spot where Ross is probably close to trading the Reclamation Stage for one of the tokens. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on his hand. But just looking bird's eye view of the board, it looks like it's could be the block. And when your opponent's close to blocking one of your tokens anyway, then they're definitely going to block and trade with your 2/2.
Yeah.
And with this game dragging out a little bit, Ryan has some really potent draws to pair with that Soulfire Grandmaster. And it's possible Ross just lets him off the hook entirely by blocking one of the Goblins if you only send the 2 Goblins.
Temple of Malady is the play here from Merriam. He will scry. That top card will go to the bottom. Here's Tassiger. That could be the stabilizer. Just got to do some delving here, does Merriam. Tasker is such an interesting design of a card because the delving is very particular and important.
Yes. Most of the time, delving, your deck has to have something going on with the graveyard for it to matter. Usually you can just be pretty liberal throwing it away. Tasker makes your delve decision quite complicated.
Temple of Triumph here for Dunn. Use that card on top of his deck real quick. Goblin token, everybody's coming in. Merriam can't block fast enough. Tasker will trade with Rabble Master, 3 damage will come across. And Dunn will pass the turn back. To Ross we go.
Now that was the upshot of the way that Ryan played the previous turn. He got to clear out the Reclamation Sage and then trade with the Tasker.
Satyr Wayfinder will turn over a couple of cards. Opulent Palace, the weapon of choice. Sidisi, Whip of Erebos, and Thoughtseize go to the graveyard. There is the Opulent Palace. Pass that turn back. We'll have at least one raise the alarm, I think 2.
Yeah, this is not the card that Ross was hoping for. I think he was hoping for just one big play here out of Ryan that he could eat up with the downfall, but a sea of 1/1s, that's going to be tough.
And you see he gets out 4 soldier tokens. That's the reason why. There's the second raise the alarm. And as great as a card as Satyr Wayfinder is, not going to be able to stabilize this board. Dunn will take a draw. I think somebody just found a Jeskai Ascendancy. Absolutely. Here's a Treasure Cruise with enough cards in the graveyard to trigger everything, and Merriam's going to concede the game. Ryan Dunn going to win game number 1 here over Ross Merriam. Jeskai tokens quickly up a game over Sultai Reanimator.
Yeah, Ross with a little bit too much stumbling out of the gates, and Goblin Rabble Master, the most punching card in Standard against those kind of starts.
To the sideboard we go. We will start with Merriam and his Sultai Reanimator deck.
A Thoughtseize, a Duress, a Negate, 2 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Sultai Charms, a Pharika, God of Affliction, a Soul of Innistrad, 2 copies of Drowned Sorrow, 2 copies of Bioblight, 2 copies of Doomweight Giant. The back 6 there, the most exciting to me, the Drowned Sorrows, the Bioblights, and Doomweight Giants, very good against small creature strategies and specifically token strategies. I think there's a little bit of room for, Duress and Negate to come in as well here in this matchup. But light sideboarding, the back 6 there, the Black Sweeper is going to be really good.
For Dunn, he's got 3 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Negates, 2 Glare of Heresy, a copy of Erase, 2 Anger of the Gods, 3 copies of Dragonlord Ojutai, and 2 Valorous Dance. I know Dragonlord Ojutai is a card that was very popular among the Roanoke crew at the Season 1 Invitational, and something that they were always boarding in because people would sideboard in obscure ways against the Jeskai token stack. That made it so that Dragonlord Ojutai was pretty good.
And I think this is going to be a matchup where it comes in. If anything else, it's going to be a slow matchup. Both decks slowing down here, and so just having high impact 5-mana plays, that's pretty powerful. I think the Erase will certainly come in, and the 3 copies of Disdainful Strokes seem good. Negate, I'm on the fence about. There are some targets, but the Sultai Reanimator deck, largely creatures. I think the one Valorous Stance here is solid against a deck that's packing Heroes, Downfall, and some big creatures.
Ross is a player who did play in our Players' Championship, as many as you do know. Made a great run, had a great match against Reed Duke as well. And he's looking to get back there. Season 2 might be the way for him to do that. And between these Open Series events and our IQs, I wouldn't be surprised to see him back there.
No, I think it's very likely for Ross to make it. I've talked to him a little bit about it. He's unsure about if he's going to make his push in Season 2 here, if he's going to wait till later in the year, but Players' Championship definitely on his radar. And if it's on your radar, this is one of the best ways to pursue a path there, trying to qualify for the Invitationals, get to the Players' Championship, or just more local organized play. You can get signed up for these Invitational qualifiers that come with playmats, dice bags, pins, SCG Premium vouchers. Some of these are prizes just for attending the event. Some of them are prizes for making the top 8. And there's always more information available at StarCityGames.com.
Ross played in quite a few. Look at Kevin Jones as well, Logan Mai, Stephen Mann. It's a way to get there.
Yes.
And all that matters is that you do.
It's not a way by itself, but if you're supplementing it with good performances on the Open Series, good invitational performances, you can get there. And many of our at-large bid players from last year did exactly that. Jim Davis also did a lot of work on the Long Island area, playing in those kind of events.
Sultai Reanimator, I think a deck that's going to be pretty popular in the opening weeks of this format.
Well, it can play just a nuts and bolts game where you accelerate into things like Sidisi Brew Tyrant, you have your removal spells, the games stall out, you have powerful 6 and 7 mana plays. You win a percentage of games that way. And you also win a percentage of the games with the synergy stuff, with Whip of Erebos and filling up your graveyard and doing cool stuff. So I think that there are some players who like it for the sort of ramp into good stuff feel of it, and there's some players who like it for the, well, I get to do all this powerful graveyard shenanigans stuff that my opponent can't really interact with. So when a deck kind of appeals to multiple classes of players and the deck's reasonably powerful, you're going to see a lot of it.
I do think it is a pretty powerful deck. Reed certainly did demonstrate that last week. Ross trying to do the same this week. Jeskai tokens, well, that one's powerful too. Both these decks did make the top 8. Todd Anderson, of course, top 8ing with Jeskai tokens last week, and this is a pretty similar deck list.
Yep, I mean, it is not pushing its curve all the way down. You see some of these decks playing with Dragon Fodder now, for example, trying to push the curve down. I like that philosophically. I'm not sure if that's the right card to be playing. A couple copies of Anticipate as well. Just trying to give the deck more stuff to do on turn 2, which is historically its biggest stumbling block. Is just say go on turn 2, turn 3, maybe I play an Ascendancy, I play a Route Master that just gets killed, and I don't have time to deploy the stuff in my hand. So pushing the curve down, very valuable for this sort of strategy. And Ryan's list here, 4 Wild Slash, 2 Lightning Strikes, 2 Anticipates, a Valorous Dance. Not that Valorous Dance is typically going to be a turn 2 play. It can be on the draw sometimes against Courser, but still, all of this an effort to make the deck a little bit more efficient with its mana.
Well, Dunn did win game 1 pretty easily against Merriam, as Merriam did have some difficulty with black mana. So we'll see if Ross can tie things up, as he will be on the player, if Ryan can get this over with in just 2 games. Merriam going to take a look. He will keep his opening hand. Looks like Dunn will as well. We are underway here in game number 2. Opulent Palace is how we will kick things off. And Dunn will take a draw. He has a Temple of Triumph. Means a little scry action. That card will stay on top, we think. No, to the bottom we go.
A classic scry pump fake.
You have Mycos and a passing of the turn. Dunn with a Plains. He's got a 2-mana spell. It'll be Soulfire Grandmaster. That'll resolve as we go to Merriam's 3rd turn.
And Ross with Duress in hand, electing not to Duress. I like that a lot, because I think that Ross wants to save it for a point where he's got nothing to do. He wants to push something through, or Ryan's close to getting to Treasure Cruise.
And you see the hand here. There are 2 targets for Duress and Disdainful Stroke and Stoke the Flames. Couple of lands over there in Flooded Strand, Plains, and Temple of Triumph. And there's the big one, the one we thought would come in, Dragonlord Ojutai.
Yep. The game's going to be played at a pretty slow pace. Sultai Reanimator honestly does not have that much removal, and not that many ways to block flyers as well. So Dragonlord Ojutai is going to be uncontested. And if Ross has to hold up a bunch of mana or do some weird fidgety plays to prevent Dragonlord from connecting, that's a win for Ryan as well.
Treasure Cruise the draw step for Dunn. He'll start by attacking for 2. So Merriam will go down to 18. Dunn will go up to 22. There's a Temple of Triumph. Take a look at that top card. It'll stay on top. That's the pump fake again.
Yeah, he's got you twice, 2
got
for 2.
Me again, jeez. I would be a bad.
Fool me once.
I would be a bad defender in the NBA. Just falling for the pump fake.
That
every
hesitation move, you know? Looks like he's committing and then just goes in the other direction with it.
Do you have that in your repertoire?
A little hesitation move?
Yeah.
All of my moves are hesitation moves. I don't move that fast. They all appear as though I'm hesitating.
Ross will take a draw here. Does have a copy of Sidisi in hand. The Brood Tyrant version.
And the coast looked clear last turn. I mean, there is a Stoke the Flames, but you don't have to worry about Lightning Strike with the trigger on the stack based on what Ross knows about.
Yeah. So here's the Brood Tyrant. Turn over a couple of cards. That's a hit. Zombie coming. Slumgar, the Drifting Death, and Sidisi Brood Tyrant were milled along with a Temple of Malady. Good to have Sidisi back.
Took a little bit of a break, but this is part of the power of Sultai Reanimator, is the deck can win games just like this. Just, all right, you have to kill this DC right now, and now I have a 2/2 token to block your Soulfire Grandmaster. My deck's got more powerful cards in it than yours does. If I ever find Whip of Erebos, awesome, but by no means required to win this game.
Well, we know that Dunn has an answer in Stoke the Flames. Not sure if he plans on casting it or not. It looks like not just yet. Merriam will draw. Sultai Charm is what he's found.
Answers both Goblin Rabble Master and Jeskai Ascendancy. So a bit slow, but a fine card to bring in here.
Ross asked if he could go to his attack step, and Ryan said, not just yet. I'm going to search up an island. I think we're going to see a Stoke the Flames here.
I'm not a big fan of waiting because Ross could easily pick up Negate, Disdainful Stroke. You know, if this CDC starts connecting, it's hard for Ryan to pull himself out from under it. He has no good catch-up, so. This is not a spot where I would have gotten funky with my instance. Probably won't come back to bite him. Ross doesn't have a lot of cards in the sideboard to punish him here, but he certainly has more than 0.
This is true. There is a Stoke. It looks like it's going after Sidisi. We can't forget, too, because Soulfire Grandmaster is in play, that will have lifelink. And Merriam says, I'm going to Sultai Charm. Thank you much. There goes Sidisi. Here's an attack for 2. Now, Ross does know that Dragon Lord Tie is in hand and probably coming. You saw him play a Yavamaikos and just pass the turn back. So we'll see if Dunn does go for it, assuming that he does have a 5th land and enters the battlefield untapped.
I think that Ross, again, is having some color mana issues. His hand contains Sidisi, Undead Vizier, and Bile Blight, and he's without double black.
Ugh. That's super awkward. Dunn with 4 cards in the graveyard. 4 lands in play. There's the 5th land. There's Dragon Lord. I think maybe Ross was hoping he wouldn't go for it, but he did. You speak to the mana issues, and it looks like Ross is still having some. And he's going to go with Sidisi right now. That'll be a trigger. Turn over a couple of cards. Opulent Palace, Doomwake Giant, and a Courser. So a zombie will be coming. I bet he'd rather have that Opulent Palace in play.
Yeah, I think his hand is actually now 3 double black spells, 2 copies of Bioblade, and Sidisi Undead Vizier.
Hoarding Outburst to draw for Dunn this turn. Valorous Stance over there in hand as well. Goblin Rabble Master 2. Here comes the Dragon Lord. That's going to hit. Merriam's going to go down to 9. We'll have a trigger. Take a look at the top 3 cards here. Will Dunn, he'll get to take one with him.
Not only is Ross without, his black mana here, but the blue mana issue here, 2 Yavimaya Coast and the Opulent Powers means he's also taking a couple shots here from Painland damage.
Dunn is all set with resolving that Ojutai trigger. And now he can start to come up the board while he tries to fly over for the win. This will be a Hoarding Outburst, so 3 goblins coming. And we head back Merriam's way. Merriam will draw. I believe Urborg Temple, excuse me.
I was about to comment on this. The problem is also not only finding black mana, but finding black mana that comes into play untapped. Because Ross is up against the ropes right now, and this deck plays a lot of its black sources come into play tapped. The Opulent Palaces, the Temples, and so forth. There aren't that many lands that come into play untapped to generate black mana. And Ross just can only take so many more of these shots.
Yeah, 2 more.
And the other issue is the black cards don't even necessarily stabilize the board.
Yeah.
You know, he needs to chain together 2 copies of Bioblight. That's not realistic. If he casts a DC, well, what's he tutoring for that impacts the board in 1 turn? It's a short list,
to say the least. Right now he's trying to figure out how he wants to attack. 2 zombie tokens and Sidisi out there. With Dunn at 19, very difficult for Merriam to try to race here.
Well, Ross might go on the offense here because there's not a lot to be gained by going on the defense. He has 3 blockers against 3 blockers. This way he generates a token, most likely.
And he does.
And you still have your 3 blockers against his 3 attackers on the ground. So this is not the most productive attack, but there's no reason for him not to do it.
We'll see a little chump block action there from Dunn. Wants to make sure he keeps that life total high. Anticipate here for Ryan. Take a look at 3. Gets to take 1. He's found something he's happy with. Rest will go to the bottom. Heading back Dunn's way. The card he took with Anticipate was an Erase. I think a smart selection there. Whip of Variable is one of the few cards that can actually get Ross back into this game.
It's a lot of life. I mean, one big swing here with the board that Ross has can give Ross the time to do some other things. So Erase is just a very powerful insurance policy.
Jeskai Ascendancy was picked up as well. So now Dunn can try to put together the combo of Jeskai Ascendancy at Instance alongside Dragon Lord Ojutai. Looks like he will take the moment to deploy the powerful enchantment. Merriam going to take a long look at his hand. Knows that has to resolve, so now here comes Dragon Lord Ojutai. Can't stop that either. 5 downs will be dealt. Merriam down to 4. You'll get a trigger from the Dragon Lord. Hoarding Outburst and Anticipate among the options. Dunn has made his selection. We head back Merriam's way. He's at 4. He'll take a draw. He seems to be in a world of trouble here. Sultai Charm the draw there for Merriam.
Yeah, he can cast the stuff in his hand, and now the stuff in his hand doesn't even help.
Yeah. That's the big issue. Mana issues in both games.
Against a deck that's going to punish you for it. You know, if Ross is playing in a mirror match or he's playing against Abzan, he might have the time to play this sort of game. But against Jeskai tokens, you need to be online right away.
Ross going to do a little bit of math, see if there's any way he can work himself back into this. But he also has to assume that Ryan has something here. He's probably hoping that he has nothing. Or also have to take a point of damage. Jeskai Charm will go into catalog mode.
Yep.
Draw 2, discard
Not a good
1.
sign.
Not at all.
I mean, Ross's hand gets him nowhere, so he has to do this, but...
Sidisi will bite the dust. With Merriam's hand, he will extend it. Ryan Dunn's going to win this match over Ross Merriam 2-0. Jeskai tokens will take care of Sultai Reanimator. Merriam will pick up his first loss in the tournament. And for Ryan Dunn, he moves on to 5-0.
Some stumbles and Goblin Rat Master in game 1 and Dragon Lord Ojutai in game 2 are some of the best cards you can have in the entire format to capitalize on those kind of stuff.